Agent Illusion, you oof! Why did you switch from Isle content to lame Arcane Odyssey content? Yeah, well, I have two reasons for that. First is that Isle content is getting pretty stale, and I need something besides Isle content on my channel, or I'm hardly going to have much of an audience watching this channel. So I'm going to be branching out to other games and see what I can do in those areas, now including Minecraft since 1.20 has come out. Second is that I did it for the fun of it. I get satisfaction out of that stuff for some reason. But since you guys are here for Isle content, that Isle content is still coming, okay? That's why I've suffered over 30 failed Isle runs just to post this video on my channel right now, okay? That's why you're going to enjoy this video, or I'm going to stop making Isle content. Now then, let's have a little history lesson. Before Ohisle, the April Fool's 2023 event came out, I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I was the first to do a solo run of this event? But of course, when the time came, I couldn't do that. College was at the top of my priority list, and I had to make my last semester good. So I instead settled for helping my community get the badge, title, and modifier like the benevolent, helpful, and absolutely lit YouTuber that I am. And while I was at it, I had even managed to get it myself with the help of a team from a Bedorkby server. And it paid off for my channel. I mean, just look at all these views. And they're still coming. Then I finally graduated in May this year, and I figured this would be the perfect time to start my solo Ohisle run, only to find out that others had already completed it by the time I got there, including the infamous Joshua Red, who despite being inferior to me in his subscriber count, had become one of the first few people to solo it, and have the most popular solo hangar video, with more than 1.5 times the views of my solo hangar video. And then someone set up an entire solo guide for completing the event. My hopes were crushed. My dream of becoming the first person to solo the event in Agent Illusion, Master Illusive style, had died. But I had not given up. Despite everything having gone wrong, I was still going to do this event solo, but in a way that would prove every completed run prior to it far weaker in accomplishment by comparison. That's right. I was going to beat this run solo with a lot more needless suffering. This is something that some people will tell you can't be that hard, but I'll be the first to tell you, it is that hard. Only in Ohisle, folks. So the first things I had to do were get a light, start the events, check under Spider's perch, press the yellow button after wandering around the ocean floor in the dark for a few seconds, brave the cove, which is surprisingly well guarded by dinosaurs, and tiptoe over the now freezing water after some strange drink luck to reach the blue button. Oh, and I had to do it all with a couple ankle biters biting at my ankles. Yeah, I wasn't going to stick around for any of that. I was long gone by the time I pressed the blue button. And I happened to appear nearby the bunker, which is actually one of the places I wanted to go next, so I went for the Master Bypass console and opened up the bunker immediately to get the buttons and a level 2 card. Now, I know what you're thinking. How are you going to deal with Shotgun B6 and frog spawns with guns trapping you in there? And the answer is this. I'm not trapped in there with those guys. Those guys are trapped with B6. B6 doesn't just shoot players, you know. Plus, any gun I get from the frog spawns is automatically upgraded, so that's one less item to upgrade later in the lair. Speaking of the lair, the strange rock teleported me to the farthest place possible from it. But this was actually okay, because getting the drone buttons out of the way was not a terrible thing to do this early in the game. Plus, it gave me a little sidekick with a flashlight and a gun. But you know what feels better than knowing your favorite sidekick is at your side? Knowing you got the buttons that were right there waiting for you, and unfortunately I hadn't. I had to turn back immediately and climb back up the rock, just to press 2 silly buttons. After sorting that out, I took a couple minutes searching with my nearsighted vision for what should have been a convenient mine launcher, but then it's easy to forget whenever you panic for a time after a few dozen tries or so. So after getting that after a bit of effort, I went for Artifact C, allowing me to see everything. Nothing could be hidden from me now, not even the buttons that weren't even highlighted by Artifact C. Then I used the line launcher to set up a line to the top of the balloon rock. But that was the part where I learned I was really bad about saving time. Because that's what you're supposed to do in the challenges. Waste your life and time playing the same stupid run over and over again till you go insane. But I wasn't going to be fazed by the absolute darkness all around me. I rode the zipline to the top of the rock and climbed into the center of the cave, where I found the button just waiting for me to press it, which I did. So I set my sidekick to his dutiful task of protecting me from carnivorous lizards while I went to the hangar and the arches to get a pair of goggles and press the buttons that were there before I beheld the terrifying sight of a thrasher at the docks. But thankfully, I didn't have to stay for dinner. Boss fighting thrashers in the previous runs always seemed to end horribly anyway. But I am at least proud to say that I've never died to a thrasher on any of these attempts. Also, interesting fact, did you know frog spawns will attack dinosaurs? That'll be a fun thing to remember when I use these mods for Hangar in some other lifetime. But while I was brave enough to approach, Droney wasn't. He started running back and forth between me and wherever the heck he was before I lost track of him. I didn't care enough to go check, so he just kept doing that throughout the rest of the game. Now I had to do this without any help from my most faithful companion. So after falling asleep that surprisingly uneventful night, I pressed the white button and took the pre-filled diving gear and a strange rock to the lair for warmth, while I upgraded my card to level 3. And so now you're probably wondering how I get out of this alive, considering the reason I wanted to do lair in advance was so I could avoid the possibility of dying or almost dying to the freezing cold water. Well, you see, all it took was a lucky teleport to the docks after the dawning realization that I wasn't going to survive the swim back out. And in hindsight, I should have done that before wasting my warmth on that. But after warming myself by a torch and pressing the button on the roof, my quest for the facility buttons began, with B6 and Albino not far away. Before any hecklers start going, "Oh, Agent, you should use Master Bypass console instead of card. It's much more efficient, you oof." No, it's statistically less efficient to use the Master Bypass in the facility, but you can just as easily get a level 3 card or better on the way there. I even got a level 4 once with this method. So as I disabled the security systems and unlocked the gates, I had to dance the untimely dance of insanity with Ivory Hunter, who was more than pleased with the thought of ripping my soul from my body, while B6 stood outside menacingly, laughing at the thought of having one less artifact user to deal with. But B6 was so overconfident that he finally disappeared from the scene, and I quickly freed myself from the vicious cycle of never-ending hardcore ghost town. It was then just a matter of pressing every button in the facility with hardly anything extraordinary happening. Certainly nothing to write home about, am I right, Droney? And so I finished all the buttons and teleported to the portal circle, of all places. So I took the time to press the buttons I left behind at the impact site and the jungle shop and properly equipped myself. Well, okay, I may have paid a premium on those goggles. Where's Mr. Beast when I need him anyway? Well, I was at least making okay progress. I was down a drone, I was about to freeze to death, but hey, we have only 10 buttons left now. But anytime you start running low on buttons scattered across the map, you have to work hard to remember which buttons you still have yet to press. So I fell asleep at the generator shore, wondering which buttons I still had yet to press, when the most alarming thing was just barely averted. No thanks to Droney. After that scary encounter, I powered the warehouses, got the buttons that were conveniently nearby. Oh, and may I remind you just how much I hate owls. Yeah, with Shotgun B6 standing menacingly over me, I wasn't going to stand there and take the hit, so I used the rock to go all the way to the lighthouse. Which was actually convenient yet again, considering just how poorly I'm playing this game right now. I climbed to the top, pressed the button, and made my way to the warehouse and watchtower buttons. Getting those buttons was a breeze, albeit a very chilly breeze that I had to patch myself up a bunch. Being the thorough soul I am, I decided I wasn't going to leave the observatory and Ape City buttons unpressed. so I made the harrowing trek through dinosaur, harsh cold, and ice-hearted robot, more dinosaurs, and deadly dudes with guns, all to press a few more buttons and open up Vapor City just as night fell. It was at that moment I realized I hadn't pressed the right check button, and used an old April Fool's trick to shove a V-bot through the gate and press the button so I didn't have to suffer through the ridiculously designed obby, almost specifically designed to kill you if you try to go in with no climbing tool or any other helpful item. But with that out of the way, it was a straight route to Ape City. 2 of the buttons that remained that I could remember awaited me there, and I got them easily. But I couldn't remember for the life of me where the final button was. Luckily, I left myself a hint in a teaser post where the last button was, so I followed my future self to the final button's location, which, after narrow escapes from dinosaurs, robots, owls, and more dudes with guns, and even more dinosaurs, I could enjoy the rest of Christmas in Ohio after pressing the final button at long last. You have no idea how much of a relief it was to finally beat this challenge, especially after how horribly wrong last year's solo April Fool's challenge went. But did I leave it at that? Of course not. What better way to celebrate your win than by flexing on poor Ivory Hunter by escaping through the portal? I won't lie, I considered doing the hanger, but I didn't have the brain cells left for that after taking 30 attempts just to get here. If you got this far, by the way, consider joining my channel memberships if you haven't already, because I'm going to start rolling out some separate challenge videos from my Elite Illusive Ops, in addition to full footages of my public videos and member-exclusive polls to determine what challenges you want to see next. And even if you only become an Illusive Ops member instead, you still get cool perks like early access to longer videos like this, having your name mentioned in the credits, yep, those credits you're watching right now as I'm talking, the ability to flex your emoji perms over those newbie defaults, well, okay, I probably shouldn't trash talk my fans too much, or they'll forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this, so maybe I'll just leave it at thank you all for watching, and see you guys next mission.